Hey everybody, Matt Johnston back with another COVID-19 legal update. Actually, we're not going to be talking much about the law today, so I guess a legal update doesn't really fit. A couple of things. Holy cow, do I need a haircut? May have to sacrifice my dignity and have my children cut my hair. Anyway, one of the things that's going to start happening as the next few weeks start to develop is that governors and federal legislatures and federal government is going to start looking at, we have to reopen the economy and get things moving again. And small businesses are going to have to start doing the same thing themselves. What's going to happen when we reopen? What's going to happen as we try to make things get back to quote unquote normal? And the first thing that I want to talk about a little bit is some strategy, some ideas for thinking about it. And a lot of this comes from something called the OODA loop, the OODA loop. It's created by a military strategist by the name of John Boyd. He was a former Air Force officer in the 50s and 60s, and a very interesting thinker. Not a whole lot written about him, not a whole lot written about him or by him, but he did create this, what's called the OODA loop, which stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. Now, to understand the OODA loop and think of it beyond its simple sort of presentation of that, you have to sort of understand some of the philosophy that was behind Boyd and what he was thinking about. And part of what he was thinking about was the world of uncertainty. And a lot of business owners, a lot of military folks, uncertainty is not an easy thing to deal with. And oftentimes we fail to account for uncertainty. We either sort of avoid it or we become overwhelmed by it. For Boyd, it was simply a given. It is the nature of the world, and we have to sort of understand that. And one of the foundational principles that Boyd was talking about stems from what's called the second law of thermodynamics. Sorry if this is getting a little nerdy, but hey, I like this stuff. The second law of thermodynamics basically says that there is a maximum level of entropy in any closed system. And entropy is disorder. And the second law of thermodynamics looks for thermodynamic equilibrium. Well, when you're dealing with human beings and you're dealing with a business, for example, if the business is closed, meaning it's not seeking outside information or outside data, over time, that closed system is going to degenerate into disorder. And that's just the nature of things. So you have to bring in additional information. You have to look beyond your current scope of thinking, and you have to look outside. You have to bring in data. You have to bring in conditions, and you have to look at the world in which as it exists, rather than as we hope it was, or more importantly, how we thought it was in January and February of this year. The fact of the matter is we're going to be looking at a completely different system, and as much as we would like to go back to the way things were, it's probably going to be a bad way of doing things. We have to observe how our businesses are currently operating. We have to observe about how our businesses operated before, and we have to observe what our customers are going to be different going forward. How are they going to want to interact with our business? All of this information that we have to observe, we then have to orient our thinking around. Now, for Boyd and people who study the OODA loop, orientation is the most important step in the process. And we have to take on these mental models that deal with how we view the world, how we interact with the world, and how we take on the data and information that we have. So the more we face the uncertainty, the more we have to have developed mental models in order to deal with these situations. And unfortunately, for a great many businesses, we are used to a single model. It's a model that's worked. It's a model that has allowed us to build a business that has produced a nice income, helped us employ lots of people, provides great services and goods to our customers, but the system is now different, and we can't contain the same closed system. So we're going to need some additional and new mental models to look at. And the beautiful thing about the OODA loop is that it gives us a system that allows us to bring on multiple mental models and then from there be able to operate in a different sort of scenario. So one of the interesting stories that that Boyd used in his situation was he would create this sort of thought experiment. And this thought experiment worked like this. Imagine you are on a ski slope. Imagine you are skiing down a ski slope. Imagine now that you're in Florida riding on an outboard motorboat. Maybe you're towing water skis, maybe you're not. Imagine you're riding a bicycle on a nice spring day. Imagine you're a parent taking your son to a department store and you notice that he's fascinated by the toy tractors and tanks with rubber caterpillars. Now imagine that you have to pull the skis off of you, but you're still on the ski slope. Imagine you remove the outboard motor. Imagine you remove the handlebars from the bike or the rubber treads from the toy tractor. And that leaves you with the following separate pieces: skis, outboard motor, handlebars, and rubber treads. So what happens when you put these things together? And the interesting thing is that a lot of people would struggle. But the answer to those four things, separate four things, is a snowmobile. And in the end, Boyd was talking about that orienting or using multiple mental models allows us to deal with situations in the face of uncertainty. So, in effect, the people who can imagine the snowmobile, they're going to be the winners in any sort of situation. So as you are a small business owner and you're starting to think about what's coming next, you may have to take different parts, something from your past, the way you operated in January and February, something from how you're operating now, something about how do we change that situation, what about information from our customers. We're going to have to pull all those things together and imagine a snowmobile or something similar or something completely different. So we may have to look at and take this opportunity that we have to reorient our thinking about our businesses. And that's what we're going to start talking about in terms of process over the next couple of videos. So the most successful people, according to Boyd, were people who would be able to change the tempo of their OODA loops as they move through the observe, orient, decide, act. They're able to change the tempo of the motion through that loop. You can't ever stop it, but you may have to slow down the loop, or you may have to go very fast through the loop. And maybe you're embracing speed early on. Speed so we can get that cash flow in. Speed so that we can start serving our customers. But ooh, wait a minute. Maybe we need to slow down and think about, is this the best thing for our staff? Is this the best thing for our customers? Is this really where we want to go with our business? We have to be very careful about just simply speeding through the OODA loop without pausing to think. So if you're interested in the OODA loop, there's a blog post that I'm going to link to down below and a few other resources that you can look into. But the OODA loop is going to be providing sort of the map and the model for some of the suggestions that we're going to be making going forward with regard to gearing up and getting ready for a return to full business. In the meantime, practice a little social distancing, keep washing your hands, but most importantly, keep your chin up. The end is coming and we've got to get back to work, and we are here to help you. Just a quick reminder, you can subscribe to these videos. They're going to be available on the YouTube channel. And if you are interested in having a quick little chat with us, you can also schedule that down below. I do want to remind everybody, right now we're working on a pay what you can model. So while we would appreciate payment for your consultation, we're not going to sweat it too much right now. Right now I want folks to be able to get back into business and get back working. In the meantime, have a good day. Bye-bye.